Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Guess who I am? I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. I'm back. Yesterday I told you guys I was playing hurt. Well, I'm not hurt today. I'm refreshed, very refreshed. Let me just keep it 100% real with you. You guys hear me talk about CB Distillery on the show from time to time, and their gummies, their sleep gummies. Holy cow, did they come through for me yesterday? I mean, because I felt like trash yesterday. Took some of those sleep gummies, got a solid 14 hours of sleep, maybe 15 hours of sleep yesterday, and I feel refreshed and ready to go today. I feel fantastic, and we have a great show planned for you today. One worthy of a 5-star rating on Apple. Do that. Help us fight the algorithm. That rating is important. If you're watching over YouTube, make sure you hit the subscriptions, you hit the like button, you do all of that. You leave a comment, you hop in the chat. These, either Justin or Luke or Peyton may see your comments in the chat and bring it to my attention. Do all of that. Also, I want to begin the show by thanking one of our great sponsors, one of my favorite sponsors, one of the sponsors that I use every single day, and that is Relief Factor. For those of you that struggle with those aches and pains that come along with inflammation, you need to be in the fight against inflammation. And the best way I know how to do that is with Relief Factor. It's a 100% drug-free daily supplement that fights inflammation. And inflammation is the source of those nagging aches and pains that are making you think, I can't do what I used to do when I was in my 30s and 40s. Yes, you can. And maybe you're in your 30s and 40s and you're dealing with inflammation because you're working out hard or you're training hard or whatever. I can't recommend any more highly Relief Factor's 3-week quick start program because it's just $19.95. And within those 3 weeks, you're going to find out if Relief Factor is a solution for you as it relates to inflammation. 70% of the people that try the 3-week quick start circle back and re-up with Relief Factor because they're already experiencing the benefits of Relief Factor. Something I use every day. You hear me guys talk about Jeffrey Steele, my friend, the 64-year-old country music legend, bikes 30 miles every morning. Thanks Relief Factor every morning. You can too. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. Let me tell you about today's show. It's going to be unique because I'm going to take, did y'all see Victor Wembanyama scored like 40 points last night in like 20 some odd minutes, scored 25 points in the first quarter. The Spurs played the Lakers, and LeBron James declined to show up and play in the game. He has got arthritis in his pinky toe, I think he said, and he missed the game. And it just crossed my mind, or it flashed in my mind. I was like, the whole competition era in sports is gone. These guys don't care about competing. And you have to wonder, like, how did we get here? How did we get to where, and I saw where the Ohio State athletic director was talking about expanding the college football playoffs because we need the content. And it just made me like, that's all this is about. It's content. Sports are no longer about competition. And it made me think about the National Football League. And because the ratings for the Super Bowl just came out. And there's all this spin doctoring going on about these ratings. And it makes me, when I look at all the heavy spin that's getting done on these Super Bowl ratings and Bad Bunny and all this other stuff, it's like, oh, they're spinning because they have a problem. The NFL has a problem. And that's why I think ESPN used the headline, Super Bowl 60, Bad Bunny's halftime falls shy of ratings record. I was like, man, that's for the headline, for that. Again, these things are calculated. Trust me, there was a whole committee that had to decide how is ESPN going to frame these ratings because the ratings dropped. The ratings dropped for the Super Bowl, and for Bad Bunny, and they got to spin it in some sort of way. And they fell just short of record ratings. Well, that's one way to spin it. That's one way to spin it. But if you look, and that's what a part of this show and this opening monologue is about, if you actually read the fine print, it actually tells a different story. There is no real positive spin on what just happened with the National Football League and the Super Bowl. There is no positive spin. They just fell short of record ratings. The viewership's down 2% to 124 million. And it was a boring game. It just was an exciting game. If they had had a better matchup and a better game, the ratings would have been better. Well, last year's Super Bowl that allegedly set all these records, the Eagles were up like 20-0 at halftime and 40-6 at some point or whatever. And so, and I get, hey, Patrick Mahomes was there, and you had Jalen Hurts, you had the black quarterback thing you could sell, and the history. I get it. But I'm just telling you, if you read the fine print of the stories that are coming out and trying to spin these Super Bowl ratings, it actually tells the real story. I want to first read you something from Front Office Sports. They had, their article, Super Bowl 60, viewership down 2%, draws 125 million viewers, basically. Well, here's what the fine print actually says in the story, buried in the story. Notably, this was also the first Super Bowl with Nielsen's big data plus panel measurement process. The methodology, first introduced last September, brings in millions of additional data points from set-top boxes and smart TVs. That expanded view of the market has helped produce viewership gains across much of live sports, and particularly pro and college football, but not with the Super Bowl. Let me help you understand that piece of fine print. What that means is, since September, when we rigged up this new accounting system at Nielsen that counts all of these extra people, we've boosted up the TV ratings for football, and since September, everybody in live sports has been benefiting from this new calculation and new system that keeps producing these record ratings. First time, this many million, this percentage, blah, blah. They had a system in place designed to boost the ratings of the Super Bowl. And it didn't boost the ratings of the Super Bowl. That's an indicator. That's an indicator that the NFL and the Super Bowl are losing their grip. They've become too arrogant, that the Bad Bunny thing was a mistake. That the de-emphasis of competition in all sports has been a mistake. People are finally starting to wake up to the diminished content. They're producing more content and they're giving us more content, but the content is no good. And that the NFL, if people were interpreting this properly, if they were free to explain what's happening properly, they would be telling you all today that, man, the NFL and football for the first time is running into the same problem that the NBA has had, that Major League Baseball has had, that their grip on America and American television is actually starting to slip. And they've put together these systems to conceal the fact that their product, if I had been thinking, I would have compared this to The Wire, my favorite TV show. They've stomped on the product. The heroin isn't as good as it used to be. They're having to lace it with other things to cover up for the fact that the heroin's no good. And the customers bubbles and the people addicted to the National Football League and football are starting to wake up like, hey, man, I'm not getting as high as I used to off of football. And at some point in The Wire, their argument was Stringer Bell would tell people like, hey, man, that just means they'll buy more heroin. Don't get as high, just take more heroin. That's what's been going on in sports. Hey, you're not getting as high, but all the games are available to you everywhere. Because, again, people like me, Peyton and Luke and Justin, you guys have no idea that there was a time when you would get 2 football games on a Sunday, and that's it. Whatever your hometown team was, and then you get another game, and that was it. The Pacers, when I was growing up, maybe they had 10 games on local TV a year. You listen to most of the games on the radio. Again, there was a time when the product was scarce. Now they put the product everywhere. They've removed the competition from the product, but it's more readily available. The drug that the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, that all these sports, it's all been stomped on in the name of inclusivity and making the game more feminine and more accessible for women. They've stomped on the actual competition product, and that's why LeBron James doesn't want to play games anymore. And I'll get to that. I'll connect that dot here in a minute. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I want to read some more from the fine print. This is from The Athletic, which is the New York Times, making the exact same point, but doing it more subversively and a bit more cleverly. This is all being handled with kid gloves because this whole myth, and you got to understand the importance of the myth that they're selling, that, hey, man, we can feminize everything, make things less masculine, and they'll all be just as appealing as they used to be. That's the lie they're telling you. And that's why these Super Bowl ratings are very important. They want you to believe that this stomped-on product, this diminished product, this product that we've loaded up with all these different agendas, they want to tell you, they want to lie to you and say, man, it's just as potent as it's ever been. There's more people watching. They're lying. This was the 4th Super Bowl since 1971. It's only happened 4 other times, or 3 other times, where it captured less than 40% of the American audience. I believe this one caught 37.3 or somewhere, 37% of the American audience, I think. 4th time since 1971 that's happened. The Super Bowl used to capture 50, 52%, 53% of the American audience. Its grip is lessening. Hold on, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I say, yeah, it is less than 40%. But the Super Bowl used to capture much more percentage of the American audience. But I'm sorry, let me go back to the fine print, Luke. I'm confusing you. This is in the New York Times article. In falling short of last season's mark, the game's average audience for Sunday was potentially influenced by a largely listless game on the field. Off the field, the audience numbers incorporated a more expansive reporting methodology from ratings partner Nielsen that was implemented in 2025. The new system more accurately captures the full audience picture, if resulting in across-the-board higher than historical numbers for a range of sports TV properties over the past 6 months. That last sentence, in my view, intentionally confusing. They're trying to make the point in their celebratory article, or their article, I wouldn't call it celebratory, but in their article analyzing and making excuses for why the ratings dip. Trust me, there are hundreds of millions of dollars riding on these ratings. Hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, riding on keeping the perception that the NFL and the Super Bowl is just as strong as ever. No, it's not. No, it's not. The NFL has a real problem. And they are trying to cover it up. And they're using their media partners to put out these vague articles that don't champion, hey, we didn't break records, but we came close to breaking records. And, if the game had been better, if we had had this star, they're making excuses. This system was tweaked in September to produce record ratings. And not only did it not produce record ratings, the ratings actually fell. It's the equivalent of if someone told you, hey, I'm taking Ozempic, but I gained 5 pounds. You'd be like, oh, man. Something's wrong with Ozempic. Something's wrong with you. How do you take Ozempic and gain 5 pounds? Either the Ozempic's no good and you're no good. And so when they rig up a system to increase your ratings, and you've seen it, it's like, hey man, Ozempic took weight off of Lizzo. So we know it works. And so they're saying to you, hey man, this system that we rigged up, it worked in September, it worked in October, it worked in November, it worked in December, it worked in January, but we get to the Super Bowl and it didn't work. There's a problem with the Super Bowl. There's a problem with football. There's a problem with competition in all of sports. And that's where I want to go to next as I relate this to the Ohio State athletic director. I think his name is Ross Bjork. Ross Bjork. Athletic director for Ohio State. He makes the argument here, but kind of, hey, we need more playoff expansion because we need the content. Play the clip.
Yeah, look, I'm a believer in expansion. Look, I think it's good for the game of football. The crazy thing about, we just spent the first 15 minutes talking about sort of governance and calendars and portals and NIL and things like that. What's really fascinating is the games have never been more popular. Look at TV viewership. Even college basketball viewership is up this year. So the fact that we have content that is valuable, live sporting content in today's environment where everything's sort of on demand, right, has never been more valuable. And so producing more content produces more revenue, which we can give back to the players. I'm all for that side of the equation.
It's comical that we're doing all this so we can give more money back to the players. No, Ross and everybody else, they want to expand their own wallets, their own budgets, and they've all bought into this fake streaming, fake Nielsen, it's a bubble that is going to burst and is bursting. The Super Bowl is the first sign, the first clear sign, like, oh man, we've been rigging up a new system for Nielsen for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's been working. It's been letting us keep the facade that these sports are becoming more and more popular, and they're not. We're just producing more content, and we're hearing it from a decision maker in college football, in college athletics. He's not concerned about protecting, enhancing the integrity of the competition. He just wants to shovel out more content slop, Goey slop, if you read the Epstein files. He just wants to shovel out more slop, and he thinks you're too stupid to realize you're being fed slop. And that you're too stupid to realize, like, hey, man, if you look around, the athletes just don't care the way that they used to. He is now emphasizing, and let's change the OTS, content over competition. That's where he has gone with all of this. It's content over competition. And content over competition isn't working in the NBA, and it's not going to work in the NFL as they keep hey, we're going to expand 18 games. Hey, we're going to take the content to more foreign countries. Everything is about de-emphasizing competition. Competition is what men are excellent at. It's what men do naturally. They compete with each other. If we're just going to create content, anybody can do it. If we're going to de-emphasize competition and it's just content and it's just a reality TV show and it's not about protecting the integrity of the game, that's how you get to a marquee matchup last night in the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs, Victor Wembanyama versus LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. This is like our last big spectacle superstar in the NBA, LeBron James. He's going to compete against Victor Wembanyama. And guess what? LeBron James, because he lives in the content world, he lives in the content mentality. He doesn't care about competing against Victor Wembanyama. And so he says, hey, I'm tapping out. I have arthritis in my foot. I'm tapping. I'm not going to play tonight. I have a chance to compete against the next big thing, participate in a game against Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs, and get to go in here and joust with the next young big star in the National Basketball Association. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm going to skip that. LeBron James, because he skipped last night's game, he's not eligible now for the All-NBA team because he will have missed more than 18 games this season. You have to play a minimum, I believe, of 65 games. LeBron's not going to do that. And you'll sit there and say, well, he's 41. He's old. Of course, he can miss a game. It's not a big deal. I went and looked. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played 70-some-odd games, I believe, in his final year. The year before that, I think he played 80 games. And this is at age 39, 40, 41-ish. I went and looked. Michael Jordan, in his final season at age 39, played 82 games, I believe. All 82. Competition has been de-emphasized in all American sports. It's all about shoveling out content to these streaming services and just cashing in. And this is why the Super Bowl and the NFL, they're losing their grip. They're not going to tell you. They're going to cover it up. They're going to keep pumping out the record ratings. And the media is going to go along with it because they're in bed with the NFL. They're in bed with all these sports leagues. Again, the NBA now doesn't even talk about TV ratings. And the media doesn't talk about TV ratings. They just ignore it. They used to talk about it nonstop. Now they just, nope, doesn't tell a good story, so we're not talking about it. We will occasionally mention it if we break some sort of record, but on a week-to-week basis, the way these things used to be covered, no dice. No dice. I want to end this, or land the plane here. I wouldn't say end. But I want to end this or land the plane here with Bill Simmons acknowledging what's obvious to everyone, that there is a problem in the NBA. And he's making this comment about the NBA, but this problem is everywhere. It's in all sports. The NFL doesn't have to deal with it because they have such a stranglehold on the American media that the American media is forced to lie and pretend like there's not a problem in the NFL. But there is a problem in the NFL. And the Super Bowl just gave us a glimpse into it. But everything that Bill says here about the NBA can be applied to the NFL as well. Let's play the clip.
To me, there's like huge fundamental issues with the league that they're just yada-yadaing and pointing to all the media money they've made and the fact that their players are famous and that everybody loves the playoffs. It's like the regular season has real issues. It's too long. Guys are getting hurt too much. Everybody is making so much money. The only reason to have 82 games is because you make money from it. You go down to 70, you make less money. Guess what? Devin Booker, instead of making $75 million in 2028, he'll make 73. He'll be fine. All this shit, everything they're doing, they're not serving the larger picture of what do fans want? How do we keep our players healthy? How do we have a competitive season from start to finish? How do we avoid over 1/4 of our league not giving a shit for the last 2 months? How do we fix this? And it's the first time I've really wondered, like, do we have the right guy running the league? Because he doesn't seem interested in actually fixing real problems that everybody can see. And it's not about like, look at the NBA Cup. Oh, we created this thing. It's like, your schedule's too long. You have to fix this. It's too long. It should be 70 games.
Bill could have been talking about all of America. We don't fix anything. We just ignore any and all obvious problems. And from the illegal immigration that's gone on for 30, 40 years to, again, the consequences of bending over for DEI and feminism and everything. We don't fix anything. We just hope things go away. And I'm telling you, everything he just said there applies to Roger Goodell. It applies to all these commissioners of all sports. They've all bought into the shortcut of, hey, we can manipulate Nielsen ratings, sign deals with streaming services, sign over-budgeted deals or exaggerated deals with these desperate television networks, and that will buy us 3 or 4 more years. And then hopefully we can fix the problem in 3 or 4 years and justify all this money that's been paid to us. Or maybe it just doesn't matter as long as we're on the right political message and messaging. And that's what I believe as I land the plane here, is that these leagues, from the NFL to the NBA to Major League Baseball, they've all decided like, hey, we can't fix these problems, but the money's too good for us to even attempt to do anything real to address any of these problems. We just might as well continue to go along with the psyop, the grift, the hustle, the corruption of the Nielsen TV ratings and keep selling this Ponzi scheme that we have going on that, hey, our sports have never been healthier. No one's loved them more people are watching. It's more compelling than ever. It's all a lie. Final thought here on why I know it's a lie. The competition that the NFL, the NBA, all these sports leagues face in terms of drawing eyeballs, the competition has never been worse. The television shows that are on network TV, on Amazon, on Netflix, they've never been worse. They all pump the same message. There's, you know how bad TV's gotten? There's one guy, Taylor Sheridan, that's getting credit for making every show that draws any interest. One guy, virtually every show on the network got a show by Taylor Sheridan. And again, he's probably some sort of AI gimmick or whatever. There's no way one guy is responsible for all these different shows. But he pretends to put some authentic masculinity in his shows, and they keep working everywhere and having a little popularity. But the reality is we have more options, allegedly, of things to watch on television or through our televisions than at any time in the history of the world. But it's all the same. It's all bad. It all pumps the same message. All of us have had the experience of going to Amazon or going to Netflix and spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes trying to find something and realize, man, ain't nothing on here good that I haven't already seen. And anytime I watch any of this new stuff they pump out, it takes me about 15 minutes to get choked by the woke and to tap out. The competition for eyeballs has never been weaker. The movies, never been weaker. The competition for the entertainment dollar has never been weaker. The movies are all trash. The comedians are afraid to crack jokes. The NFL, based on the Super Bowl and the NFL, based on this new Nielsen's rigged up rating scheme they've come up with to add all these viewers. And when you consider how little competition there is for anything remotely authentic, anything remotely masculine, NFL ratings, Super Bowl ratings, all these sports ratings should be through the roof in a real way, not in some rigged up, hey, we had to create a new system to find more viewers. They're facing no competition for entertainment dollars. Again, people like me are rewatching 1970s football games. Anyway, we're going to continue the conversation with Jay Skapinac. We'll talk about the NBA side of this, a little bit more about LeBron James ducking Victor Wembanyama. We'll do that. I take a 60, 90-second break here. We'll come back with Jay Skapinac. Next! This is what I want you to do while you're there at the Super Bowl. I want you to make this proposal. There was the big, Samoan guy that was the head of the Hall of Fame. He would go knock on your door.
Well, I don't know that he was Samoan, but it was David Baker.
David Baker, yeah. Well, okay. Maybe he was Native American or something. But anyway, yeah, David Baker. Here's what I want you to do, Howard. Go into the next meeting and say, look, Jason Whitlock should be the leader of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We should all raise our swords in honor and in service to Jason Whitlock. He'll be the gatekeeper. He can fix the Hall of Fame. He'll kick the bad Hall of Famers out, and he'll take the bullets for it, and then he'll make us only put the good ones in. Jason Whitlock, czar of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Wow. You'll be very popular when you make that speech. Rick Goslin's going to buy you drinks all night.
I'm not sure. I think the raised eyebrows will get some eye coming out of their sockets, quite honestly, Jason.
Howard, thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. Great being on with you. Take care.
All right, appreciate it. All right, welcome back. Before we get to Jay Skapinac, I want to talk to you guys about the mattress that sits right outside my studio. You guys would have to, because it's a Murphy bed. I got 2 Murphy beds out there. It's part of a lounge, but one of the Murphy beds is down. Still haven't put it back up since the ice storm, but it has my ghost bed out there, and I've slept on it. Some of these guys that during the ice storm slept on it. If you used to take a mattress for granted, like somebody, because I never have. I've always enjoyed sleeping and understood the importance of a good night's sleep. But Ghost Bed takes things to a whole nother level. Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. Their beds are serious health equipment. Beds designed for relief and recovery, not looks, not fluff. Your body should be healing while you sleep, not fighting for comfort. I noticed the difference right away. If you're waking up stiff, tossing and turning, sleeping hot, even reaching for a pain reliever before bed, hoping tonight will be different. That's not aging. That could be your mattress talking to you. And here's another thing I love about Ghost Bed. You get 101 nights to try it at your home. If you don't feel the difference, you can send it back risk-free. GhostBed is offering my audience their lowest prices of the season, plus an extra 10% off. Go to ghostbed.com/fearless. Use the promo code fearless. That's ghostbed.com/fearless. Promo code fearless. Jay Skapinac, I hope you're sleeping on a ghost bed. If not, I got a deal for you and I'll hook you up. But Skap, welcome into the program. Did you see the clip from Bill Simmons?
I watched her all open. Yep.
Yeah. What did you think of what Bill had to say there?
Well, I guess I agree with everything I said, other than the part where he says, for the first time ever, I'm questioning whether the right guy's running this thing or not, when talking about Commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver. For the first time ever, I've been wondering out loud for like 5 years if the right guy is running this thing. So I guess welcome to the party, pal, to Bill Simmons, because this has been a gradual descent. This isn't like the car just flew off the guardrail and like went down the cliff very, very quickly. This has been like just a gradual, slow descent into like a body of water or something like that. Like a very slim like descent on a very like a slightly sloped road that Adam Silver has been, driving them towards this iceberg like that the Titanic collided with. It was only a matter of time. He's been doing this stuff and making these decisions for about a decade now. So now all of the genius plans and implementations of Adam Silver are finally bearing fruit and coming to fruition. And this is the product that he has left us with. So yeah, it's time to move on. There's definitely time, I think, for a change. And it has been.
Let me be, and I agree mostly that Adam Silver's in over his head. But I also think it takes a pair of balls that I'm not sure the NBA has anybody that could play the role of fixing the NBA, taking on the challenge. Hey, how do we reduce the schedule while, dealing with the NBA Players Association? These guys want to make as much money as possible. There's some really, who's willing to stand up to a group of woke black basketball players who, if you put any restraints on, player empowerment, are going to play the race card on you. Maybe Adam Silver is better than the alternatives. That there's nobody willing to be the bad guy in the NBA anymore.
You raise an interesting point, and I do kind of lament this myself. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Did this bad product, was it created essentially by the NBA and the atmosphere that they've created, or did this generation of this era of players, which, like you said, mirrors like the society as a whole, essentially, this generation of younger kids that we see coming through, like, did they break the sport, or did the NBA break the sport, and these players are just a product of it? It's a compelling argument, but I do think there are guys that can get it back on track. But it's not going to be some Ivy League educated lawyer that's never played in the game. You're going to have to get one of these guys, one of these players that played in the real times of the NBA with a hard-nosed mentality. I'm thinking first and foremost of a guy like Kevin Garnett to come in and be an influential character that can start getting this back on track.
Getting it back on track, but look, man, first and foremost, what they would say, and I'm just arguing, playing devil's advocate here, was like, hey, man, we're a business. And Kevin Garnett, Jason Whitlock, Jay Skapinac, they don't understand all the different things pulling at a commissioner. And so, hey, that's great. Kevin Garnett will have some ideas on how to stand up to the players, but does he understand how that will fit in with all these business deals with foreign companies and global corporations? Does he understand all of that?
Jason, to your point that you made in your opening segment, these are kind of just self-running entities in terms of the money aspect of things. The NBA product has never been worse, and they just signed a $77 billion 11-year TV deal for it. Like, no one is watching this, and yet people are still throwing record-breaking amounts of money at it. I truly believe this. Roger Goodell, idiot. You can take a homeless guy off the street with no formal education whatsoever, and he can manage to not mess up the NFL to the lengths where they start losing impactful amounts of money. Like, don't worry about the money. The money is going to be there. Let's get a good product on the court or on the field, and then maybe the money will be even more that will start coming in.
I maybe, and again, this is really conspiratorial or just a different way of thinking, but again, maybe the bad non-competitive product is part of what they're selling in terms of like, maybe that's part of the agenda. And when I look at the feminist movement and how they need, in my view, to bring the competition and the masculinity of men down so that women can be elevated or seen as men's equal, that this again where I just say maybe we just don't know the demands on Adam Silver, because what they're doing just doesn't make sense. The games are non-competitive, particularly during the regular season. There's a whole laundry list. It's not just LeBron that's not going to be eligible for these All-NBA awards. A lot of guys aren't going to play 65 games. They keep trying things, little things to fix things, and it's not getting fixed. And just like you said, it doesn't impact the bottom line, so why fix it? Maybe this is all by design.
It stings for us, the consumers and the viewers. And this is something I identified, I typically relate things to movies. I was a nerd of a child growing up. So I like superhero things. I liked comic books growing up. So I initially loved the comic book movie movement. And Batman Begins, Jason, it made like $200 million, okay, which is a lousy amount of money for today's expectations for comic book movies. But what the studios did with Batman Begins and with Christopher Nolan, they stayed the course. They didn't fire him and change the directive. They just said, look, you've got a vision. We like where you're going. The money will get there. And then he made, to me, the most brilliant comic book movie ever created in The Dark Knight as the follow-up to Batman Begins. But Marvel, they just keep mass producing this filth. And it kind of started around Spider-Man 3, where it was one of the worst superhero movies ever, and it still made like $400 million. So what incentive does the studio have to actually make a good product when you could phone it in, make a lousy product, slap this Marvel stamp on it, and still make 400, 600, $1 billion. Now it's $1 billion. Basically, if Marvel just stamps something on a movie and puts a little Marvel tag on it, they're making $1 billion worldwide minimum. Like, what is the incentive to make a good product? Unfortunately, there is none, and it's just people like us, the consumers, that are going to be left suffering, which is essentially what we're going to be doing with the NBA, seemingly for the interminable future at this point.
What do you think about LeBron James has a chance last night to take on the next big thing in basketball, Victor Wembanyama, and he ducks it, says he has arthritis in his foot. I'm not surprised, but I am just like disappointed. It's like if I'm going out, end of my career, and I got a chance, and I know, hey, there's no chance. Maybe we can't beat the Spurs. They're hot. Luka's not playing. Austin Reeves. But what do you think of LeBron ducking Victor last night?
Jason, this is stereotypical LeBron. He's been doing it for the last 5 years, where he continued, by the way, to keep making All-NBA teams. This is the first year he's not going to make it, but he kept making the teams despite missing 20, 25 games year in and year out, and puffing up his stats by resting back-to-backs, by resting against teams that are better defensively. Like, of course his numbers continue to look good. He's inflating them by making sure he's always fresh and ready to go and ducking the better defensive teams. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of the league is doing. But I would say this, Jason, just in one quick pushback. Nikola Jokic and Victor Wembanyama, who are two players that are likely going to get hurt this year by this 65 minimum rule. Because Wemby has missed 14 games. You can miss 17 games total. Wemby has already missed 14. Jokic has missed 16. So they can only miss 1 and 3 more games. They're not the ones that have been targeted or that should have been targeted by this 65 minimum. These guys do want to play. They do everything in their power to play and compete. Jokic came into this year, in the first 10 years of his career, He missed like 55 total games. In 10 years, he's played more games since he entered the NBA than any player in the NBA over that span of time. The guy wants to be out there. He had a legitimate injury this season, which was a 4 to 6 week injury, and he was supposed to be reevaluated at that point, probably miss another week. Instead, he came back at 4 weeks exactly to get back to play the Thunder. This guy wasn't right. He was physically depreciated. He came back to play the Thunder and get criticized because they lost and he didn't look good because he rushed back from injury. Then he's continued to play every game since he came back. They played a back-to-back, Jason, in New York, the second game of a back-to-back on national television. He clearly should have sat out. He's not right. He's exceeding his minutes. He has a 25-minute to 29-minute minutes restriction. The night before off the back-to-back against New York, he played 33 minutes. Instead of sitting out the next game in Madison Square Garden on national television, he played 45 minutes in that back-to-back in double overtime, and he continues to play. Wembanyama, same deal. This guy came back probably 3 to 4 weeks too early from an injury earlier in the season and came off the bench for like 9 straight games while he was trying to ramp it up just so he could play 20, 25 minutes and help his team win. Those two guys deserve to be all NBA, even if they miss an 18th game or a 19th game. You can't tell me that they don't deserve it, that they're not top 15 players. This rule, the nature of the rule, was to stop guys from load managing their way to all NBA teams like the LeBron James of the NBA.
That's an interesting perspective. Tell me this. How Simmons is suggesting, hey, shrinking this season to 70 games or whatever. How do you fix this? Well, if you were commissioner, if Jay Skapinac were commissioner, what do you do?
Well, look, you and I had a little three-day symposium or something in your studios a few months back on how we can fix the NBA. I think it honestly does begin with incentivizing play. Look, I hate to say that you need like legitimate excuses, but essentially when I was in school, you could miss 20 days of school. And then at that point, you needed a legitimate doctor's excuse in order to miss any more than 20.
Hold for 1 second. You could miss 20 days of school?
20 days, as long as your parent knew that you were missing. Are you going to just
20 days?
20 days, Jason. 20 days.
I mean, how many days of school are there in a typical school year?
About 180.
About 180?
About 180, yeah.
Man, that seems like a high percent. Holy cow, 20. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So my point is this though. I was a guy that would take my 20 days usually, but I would also have straight A's.
Whoa. You would figure it. This wasn't even a thing when I was a kid. They would tell you how many days you could miss, and then you could figure out how to miss those 20 days, and everybody was good with that. I didn't even like school, but I liked going. I mean, I just wouldn't. Wow. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue. I didn't.
So my point is this: like, I had straight A's. I would take my 20 days. But if you missed more than 20, even if you had all A's, you had to go to summer school for your lowest grade that you got if you missed over 20 days, unless you had a legitimate doctor's excuse. So I feel like we're going to a point in time where we need to incentivize play. So in other words, the amount of money these guys make and are contractually stipulated that they will earn that year needs to be tied into and incentivized by the amount of games they play. And they don't get that money if they're going to miss a quarter of the year or a third of the year. The only way they would is if they have a legitimate medical excuse as to why. Like if you tear your ACL or if you rupture your Achilles, obviously you're not making no money that year.
Scap, what happens? You force the guys to play and they just go out there and mail it in. Or they 20 minutes total, or, they play 15 minutes and then they check themselves out and dare the coach to put them back in, claiming some injury or what. I think that's what the NBA would be afraid of.
I mean, Jason, there really are no good. There really are no good kind of solutions at this point, because you're pointing to a more, again, like a cultural or a societal issue overall of this era of soft, pampered athletes, which again, I think just mirrors this generation of soft, pampered people in general that are walking the earth. You need like you do need Victor Wembanyama is an interesting look. Nikola Jokic is 30. He'll be 31 in like 10 days. So he's kind of, I don't want to say he's at the end, but he's maybe 4 or 5 years left in peak where you can say he's probably the best player left alive on earth. Victor Wembanyama is only like 23 years old. This guy can just shame the rest of the NBA, and maybe Anthony Edwards too. You need like 1 or 2 guys, elite guys, and maybe it can be Ant-Man and Victor Wembanyama because those 2 teams don't like each other, the Spurs and the Timberwolves. Maybe we have this rivalry between these 2 guys that are these 2 elite players that do try to play in every game that they can, that try to compete as hard as they can in every game, and the rest of the league, because the NBA, sports in general is a follow the leader type thing. Like, I really believe LeBron James and that era from like 2010, 2011 took us to where we're at now because the rest of the other great players, young players that were coming in, looked at what they were doing and emulated it and copied it and followed it. We needed to go in the other direction. We need real men, again, to come in here that want to compete and play both sides of the ball. And beat their guys, not, beat the other best players, not join them. Build these rivalries. And then maybe the rest of the league and the rest of the good players around them will get up on that level and follow the lead. That's my only hope.
Well, the other topic I wanted to bring up with you is the Utah Jazz have resorted to a level of tanking that has drawn everyone's attention. I think their coach is Will Hardy, and he's gone to playing his players through 3 quarters and then sitting them down, and he sitting them down throughout the entire 4th quarter. And the Jazz actually won a game they were trying to tank out of of winning. That's just how bad the NBA is. Even with his best players out, they still figured out a way to win the game. But from Kenyon Martin to other people are starting to take notes. I want to play this clip of Kenyon Martin talking about Utah and its tanking.
It's disgusting. It is a disgusting display of non-competitive natured organizations. I think it's awful for the game. I think it's awful for sports. Something has to be done, man. It's when you're making it blatantly obvious like that, the league has to step in, man. It has to be a draft pick, some fines, something has to give. Because it's no good for the fans, man. Like, if anybody is cheated, it's the fans in these situations, especially this situation. These people paying their hard-earned money to come out and see these guys play and cheer them on and root for them night in, night out, and you go out and do things like that. And there's no – so this is my thing with it as well. There is no guarantees on the other side of it. You can do all this and come out and get the 7th pick. Then what? It's disgusting.
Skap, the tanking problem.
Display of immature basketball about his own player after benching him. So terrific rant by Martin, and I agree full-heartedly, spot on. And the Jazz, look, they have 17 wins. It's like the 5th worst record in the NBA right now. So they got to step their game up if they want, because the Kings only have 12 wins. So they've got a long way to go to out-tank the Kings, but a bunch of teams are doing it. It has been a pervasive issue. If you remember, look, this predates, remember the Joel Embiid kind of era in Philadelphia? Trust the process, where the process essentially was tank your ass off all season long and try to stockpile as high of draft picks as you possibly could accrue for like a 3-year span and see what happens. And how's that gotten? What's that gotten for Philadelphia, Jason? They haven't been out of the 2nd round yet in the Joel Embiid era. And like to Martin's point, like the Dallas Mavericks won the draft lottery last year with they had the 10th best odds to win it. There are no guarantees that you get really anything by doing this. And look, if you're gonna do it, it's obviously been mandated from on high by ownership. They have instructed this guy, the coach of the Jazz, to do this. He's not making these decisions on his own. Obviously, the coach wants to try to win as many games as he can. So I think there has to be some kind of a back alley, wink, wink, handshake agreement with the league and these owners and stuff. Don't make us look like idiots. Like, you got to at least make it look like you're competing. Because if you do, we're going to have to do something to some kind of ramification. Like, maybe the Jazz, they say, look, you're obviously tanking, stop now, or you won't be eligible for a top 5. Like, if your name is drawn in the top 5 of the ping pongs, like, you automatically drop to the 6th pick. Like, maybe that's the answer.
Is this upcoming draft class, is it worth this trouble?
Look, I am not as dialed into the collegiate level as I am the NBA level, so let me just make that concession. But I do.
Hold for 1 second, then. I'm gonna take the risk here of giving Peyton one more shot after he was horrible. I tried to bring Peyton into the show earlier in the show. He was absolutely horrible. He couldn't get his point out. Sounded like an idiot. This will probably be a mistake. But he follows college basketball religiously. He watches tape, watches the whole deal. Is this draft class, Peyton, is it worth the trouble that Utah and some of these other teams are going to?
Putting it shortly, to say the least, yes. I mean, there's like 15 guys on the Wooden Award watch list that are freshmen. They're all on different teams, too. So it's like everywhere you look, there's a talent pool or 1 or 2 freshmen on every single team.
I don't like the answer. It's another mistake going to Peyton. I'm going to tell you why I don't like the answer. Take that off the screen. But I'm going to tell you why I don't like the answer. Wooden Award finalists, that's the justification. Guys are up for the Wooden Award, so therefore, Peyton, I needed an answer that was like, yeah, man, there's some can't-miss talent. The Boozer brothers, they're better than Cooper Flagg. This guy's better than that. Instead, I get, well, there's a Wooden Award list. Well, there's a Wooden Award list every year, Peyton. That's why we leave it to professionals. Skap, do you have a thought?
Yeah, look.
Skap's freezing up. Peyton's so bad that he calls Skap's computer to freeze up. Anyway, go ahead, Skap.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'm buffering or freezing, but I'm going to talk through it. Look, I've heard, Jason, that this class is elite. Like, I heard that it's one of the 3 to 4 best classes since 2000, that it is.
That's the kind of information I would have liked to have gotten from Peyton, but I heard about the Wooden Award list. But continue, Skap.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that it's going to go down. Like, the LeBron class is always mentioned. The 96 Allen Iverson, Kobe class is mentioned, obviously. And now, look, there's speculation that this class is better even than last year's class. And there are some.
Wish we knew a couple of names from this class. It would have been nice to get that from Peyton, but we did. Go ahead, Skap. I'm sorry.
But this class has been very good. Like, VJ Edgecombe has been a little hot and cold as of late, but he's been fantastic as a rookie, I think. And then, you've got Kanell and Cooper Flagg, who are elite rookies, like contributing in major ways for their teams already. So, look, you tell me that this upcoming class is allegedly going to be better than this past class was. Like, you've got my attention, obviously, then with that. So I guess I understand the desire for these teams to get as high as they can, even if they missed the 1st or 2nd pick. Maybe there's 5, 6, 7 guys that could be real contributors or, fringe all-stars from, year 2 or 3 on. So I guess I understand it, but you got to make it look more feasible. You can't make the NBA look like a complete laughingstock on this. Like, at least pull a little sleight of hand in some way. And tank these games. You can't just sit these players, like the Jazz just sitting all their starters out in a game that they were up by. I think they were up by like 10 at the end of the 3rd quarter. The game against the Magic is what we're talking about. And they sat out like essentially all of their starters and lost by 3 or 4 points in that game.
Do we know, is he mic'd up? Is Justin, we'll never have Peyton on the show again. I've already moved on to another prospect. Justin's mic'd up? Justin, can you tell me, are there some names of some prospects that are can't miss that maybe are as good as Cooper Flagg and Kanell?
Yeah, Cameron Boozer, good guy from Duke. He's averaging like 23 points a game right now. Then there's Darren Peterson, who might go to number 1 overall, best player in the country. And AJ Diabonsta from BYU.
A kid from BYU? White kid, black kid, Mormon kid. AJ BYU's got a player? No, I was gonna say who was the guy that played at Utah years ago 6'9", 6'10", really good player. This was years ago. Last good white guy from Utah. He played at Utah. Scap, you look befuddled. Justin, not a bad job. Better than Peyton. Not a high bar to jump over. It would have been nice, though. Guys, I'm trying to, help these guys out. Like Darren Peterson, I believe he's a 2 guard. And he like 6'5", 2 guard. That maybe he ain't the next Jordan, but maybe he's somebody. Cameron Boozer, isn't he like 6'9", small forward? Plays the 4. Oh, Peyton's very good with the hand signals. And I don't know who AJ DeBonsta is. Is he is he from Africa? Like dark skinned guy? No. Who it?
He's getting paid like $7 million to go to BYU.
Oh, kid getting $7 million for going to BYU. Scap, I'm done with you. You can leave.
$7 million?
$7 million to go to BYU. $6 million to go to BYU.
Like,
$6 million to go to BYU.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus all the Mormon girls he can handle, I would imagine. So hell of a deal
not
with all that
classic
money in his
BYU.
pocket. Scap, I got to let you go because I'm late getting to Danny Kanell. I got to get to Danny Kanell or he'll be pissed off. And before we go, I want to talk to you guys about another one of our great sponsors, Select Quote. Just ask the Seattle Seahawks about the importance of a great defense. The best offense a lot of times is a great defense. There's no better defense for you and the people you love than life insurance. If you're new to life insurance, you're not alone. Thankfully, I found and millions of others have found Select Quote. For more than 40 years, Select Quote has helped more than 2 million Americans understand their options and get the coverage they need. Over $700 billion in coverage and counting. As a broker, their mission is simple: to find you the right insurance policy at the best price. Select Quote takes the guesswork out of finding the right life insurance policy. You don't have to sort through dozens of confusing options on your own. Instead, one of their licensed agents will find the right policy at the right price for you, comparing plans from trusted, top-rated insurance companies to find a policy that fits your health, your lifestyle, and your budget, and they work for you for free. You'll be covered faster than you think. Select Quote works with providers who offer same-day coverage up to $2 million worth with no medical exam required, and you're not out of luck if you have pre-existing health conditions such as, diabetes or blood pressure or heart disease. Select Quote makes life insurance simple, even if this is your first time thinking about it. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at SelectQuote.com/fearless. SelectQuote.com/fearless. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Danny Kanell. These overbook educated people with no common sense, that's how we've gotten into problems. This whole expert class, that's how everybody got vaxxed and boosted, where, those of us with 2.3 GPAs from Ball State were like, nah, I'm good.
I'm not
good. You know what? It ain't in the Bible. That's all I know. So no vax for me, babe.
No, but like I'm gonna let you have the vaccination whether you got boosted or not. But I will say this. I will say it's really important as a leader that you have enough awareness to know who you are and to know where your blind spots are. And it appeared that he didn't have a clear understanding of his blind spots. And as you say, in a business with a bunch of sharks, they were laying back in the cut waiting for him to stub his toe so they could take advantage of those things. And it's amazing. He gets fired on Friday and those stories hit the web right away. So those things were ready and teed up so people could take shots at him.
Welcome back. Danny Kanell joining me in just 1 second. But before we get to Danny, I want to replay the clip of Ross Bjork, the athletic director for Ohio State, talking about how, there's all these content demands and we got to expand the playoffs. Anyway, let's replay the clip.
Yeah, look, I'm a believer in expansion. Look, I think it's good for the game of football. The crazy thing about, we just spent the first 15 minutes talking about sort of governance and calendars and portals and NIL and things like that. what's really fascinating is the games have never been more popular. Look at TV viewership. Even college basketball viewership is up this year. So the fact that we have content that is valuable, live sporting content in today's environment where everything's sort of on demand, right, has never been more valuable. And so producing more content produces more revenue, which we can give back to the players. I'm all for that side of the equation.
Love it. Love the honesty there. We can just give more to the players. No, Ross, there's also, and, I can command more as the athletic director, and all of us can get richer and fatter too. Danny Kanell joining us. Danny, I don't like it because, again, content and money and just more money is driving all of athletics, and it was never supposed to be, content is more valuable than actual competition. And that's where, I'm just frustrated. There's no emphasis on improving the competition. There's just demand for more content.
So are you anti-expansion? Are you go back to the BCS, 2 teams, play it out? Is that your official stance? Do you like 4? Like, what would your perfect college football playoff look like?
I would go all the way back to the 1970s and 80s, and voters would decide, and we go back to traditional bowl games, and we go back to discussions about who's number one and the arguments that, made a lot of barroom visits and barroom conversations very interesting.
Oh, my gosh. You want to go back to dial-up internet, too.
Yes.
Time was better when you had to hear the modem running first before you could get there. I am very pro-expansion because, and I'm surprised you, as a former player, would want it to be out of your hands, where it's like college football is one of the only sports, maybe this is what you like about it, where it becomes a beauty contest, and it's a beauty. Who do we think is the prettiest girl at the pageant? Who do we think, has the best chance to play and to even get a chance to be in the beauty pageant? I want to see college football, as much as possible, determine their champion on the field and not in a boardroom, not by judges, not by committee members, but actually by the players on the field. And I think the only way to do that, I think we've gotten closer to that as we've gotten more teams involved, but I think the only way to do that is to have more teams with a seat at the table. And I don't think, now I get concerned, and we could argue about it, whether 16 is too many, 24 is the Big Ten's model. It gets really big when you start thinking about that. I get a concern for the regular season, but we have not seen the regular season diminish the way people thought and cried about. Oh, boy, we'll see where it goes. We have not seen the regular season diminish the way that people thought it would when we went to 12 teams. What regular season game, do you think there was less interest in? That
virtually all of them.
Well, Ross Bjork just gave you the numbers. The numbers are up from the regular season.
No.
And I don't think no one has cared less. People still care. College football is unique. They still care about Ohio State, Michigan. They still care about whatever game that's taking place in the regular season. And I think you've actually enhanced the entire month of November as far as a regular season, because we have so many more teams that are involved in the race to be one of the top 12 teams when the season is done.
Danny, there was a time when Ball State playing Florida in September mattered. Florida better beat them up by 30, 40 points, or it could affect the perception of the Florida team. Every game used to matter, no matter who you were playing, what you looked like while playing an inferior opponent. So all the games used to matter. They've diminished that. Don't fall for this, look at the ratings. It's never been more popular. That's a gimmick. And I spent the whole first part of this show just talking about how they keep manipulating the rating system so everybody's ratings keep going up because we've improved. No, you haven't. You've improved your ability to manipulate and to be able to exaggerate viewership of these sporting events and not put into context like, man, America's got, 50 million more people than they had 30 years ago, or 70 more million people, whatever the number is. And so it's never been more popular, that excuse or that fact. I just don't buy it. The numbers are inflated. They came up with a new system to elevate all the ratings for 2025 in sports, and it worked, except for the Super Bowl. And that, to me, is the indicator, like, man, they rigged up a system where everybody's ratings exploded except for the Super Bowl. And that, to me, is the indicator that all of this stuff is exaggerated. There's less and less interest. There is probably more passive interest because people got fantasy and gambling and, whatever. But no, I'm someone that thinks, overexpansion is the enemy of competition. And again, I'm really, really old school. I don't think the point of college football is we got to know who's number one. College football was just fine when it was about, hey, man, I got to win my conference championship. That's the ultimate goal. And then I get a cherry on top. I get to go to a bowl game.
So you would have been okay if the national championship game this season would have featured, because at the end of the conference championship play, like going into the playoffs, it would have been Indiana versus Ohio State. You would have been okay if that was your national championship.
Well, first of all, what I'm arguing is if Indiana had went to go play in the Rose Bowl against what used to be the Pac-12,
right,
and Ohio State they would have gone some other bowl game. I would have been perfectly fine with that.
And then arguing who we think is better,
yes,
Indiana, Ohio State.
But as it relates to if it was Indiana, Ohio, it's just not that important. It in terms of college football had a uniqueness to all other team sports. It had the best, most important regular season where every regular season game mattered. That's what made it special and unique. College basketball had something at the end of the year with their tournament. Everybody has something unique, everybody being the same. And all these other leagues end with a playoff, blah, blah. So what's the matter with being different? Why does everything have to be the
I
same?
want to play for a national championship that is unequivocally you are the best team in college football. Not, we had the perception and we had the promotion.
What's
and we
the
got
downside,
more games
Danny?
What's that?
What's the downside? Are there players from the 1950s and 60s that suffered career-ending mental illnesses because they didn't get to play in the national? What's the downside?
I do think I don't like I have a lot of Notre Dame players and fans who tell me that my national championship is not legit because in 1993, the game of the century in South Bend, we lost that game. And then the next week, Glenn Foley and Boston College upset Notre Dame. And I'm telling you, it was the biggest celebration at Burt Reynolds Hall when they missed that kick. We were like, we're back. We got a chance. We're in there. But to this day, Notre Dame players say, well, that's our national championship. We beat you. I like to actually have it determined on the field. And I do think more, and I think this is one area where maybe I can get you on board, because I do think there's more parity than there's ever been. Like we saw the 10 seed, Miami, who barely got in. They almost did not get in, make a run all the way to the national championship game. There is more talent spread around because everyone's allowed to pay the players. Everyone's allowed to compete.
That poor
which I think
Miami team. They got no talent to recruit from. They got no money in Miami. Yeah, it's just
no.
I'm really saying spread the wealth.
But I think the wealth has been much deeper. 10 years ago, you could throw 5 teams. You'd be like, the national champion is not going to be anybody but Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, one other SEC team, and that's it. Now the talent is not hoarded as much. So it is deeper, which I do think there are more national championship candidates that could actually win the national championship.
I think there were 3 or 4 teams by the end of the season that were clearly better than everybody else. And unfortunately, left one of them out of the entire tournament, Notre Dame. I think Miami was a team that could win, and I think Indiana was. And then, maybe Georgia.
Ohio State.
maybe Ohio State, but it wasn't this wide, unpredictable. Oh, I can't believe Miami winning as the 10 seed means they were poorly seeded, and some people didn't understand football, and people didn't understand like, hey, look, when Miami focuses and doesn't let their lack of discipline get in the way, they're as talented as any team in college football. I just can't believe, Danny. Again, the justification from the athletic directors, man, we need the content, and we can all make more money, and therefore we can pay the players more. That's all garbage.
But I do think that they want as much money as possible because I do think they're realizing that, like, I don't think anybody, myself included, and I was somebody who has really evolved a ton. I used to be, I would say, 2015, so 10 years ago, I was on ESPN radio with Priscillo, and I used to argue with him about amateur athletes and saying, you know what, there's value in a degree. There is value in an education. And I'd go over the numbers and be like, if you go to Michigan, it's worth $250,000, and that's just the numerical value. What about the unknown value of having a degree from Michigan or wherever you go to school? Like, there's value in that. To where... And I kind of gave in because I realized maybe this was me tricking myself mentally. Two things. One, I thought NIL would be the compromise that we needed. You know what? It's not American that Tim Tebow can win the Heisman Trophy and not get a commercial for Gatorade. Like, why wouldn't he be able to do that? Or Johnny Manziel, is he, it's Heisman Trophy winners coming back. Why can't they be a Dr. Pepper spokesman? That doesn't seem very American. Or why can't they sign autographs when everybody else can? And so that was one of my reasons. The other was the courts. Every court case that came out, the NCAA got demolished. Like, they just did not win anything. So I was like, all right, I'm in on NIL. Like, let's make that compromise. What I did not realize was how quickly this would escalate into pay for play, and it would be a complete sham. And I also completely underestimated fans, boosters, collectives, universities' appetite for winning, where they would shell out. We're going to have quarterbacks make $6 million this year, $6.5 million to play college quarterback for one season. That's it. You're not even getting them for multiple years. So I think these athletic directors are looking at these numbers, and if they're continuing to escalate, they've got to be able to fund the players. And I do think deep down they know that eventually they're going to have to pay them as employees, and that's when I think they're really concerned about the finances working and how viable it is to fund an entire athletic program. So I do think there is deep down, that's why they're talking about more money. And yes, it's for the players, but I think it's also for survival.
Well, you got to keep in mind, we're paying assistant coaches in college football.
Agreed.
$2, $3, $4, $5 million.
Agreed.
And so all of this, it's for the players. No, man. Everybody around the game wants to make more. The ADs want to make more. The position coaches want to make more. The coordinators want to make more. Everybody wants to make more money. And so, hey, let's expand the content. And expanding the content does not improve the competition. It does not. I'm just telling you, I can go back to my days. Winning a MAC championship, winning a Big Ten championship, winning an SEC championship. That meant the world. No one was sitting around going, oh, I didn't get to win a national championship, or it wasn't settled on the field. My life will never be the same. My GPA dropped. I had to go on antidepressants because we didn't find out who the national champion was. And, Danny Kanell, years later, he's going to be bothered because people keep rubbing in his face that he won a national championship. And I just don't know how Danny survives with people making these jokes about his national championship. They remember your national championship. They remember your season. There was nothing wrong with I'm just totally shocked here that, everything. There's no value.
You know what? But here's and I think this varies by program, by reputation, by historical success. When I was at Florida State, we never finished outside the top 4. Like, that was it. Like, my 4 years, we never finished outside the top 4. Do you know what I never talk about? My ACC titles. I talk about the national championship. Like that was, and I do think that's the same for Georgia. I think it's that way at Ohio State. I think it's that way at Alabama. And I think there's probably 10 to 15 programs that feel that way. Now, trust me, Florida State fans right now would die for an ACC title. They would love for that opportunity. So I think it fluctuates as well. But you're going to hate this take. I think we need to get rid of conference championships and replace them with playoff games. That's why I'm okay with the Big Ten's 24-team proposal, which does away with those and replaces those with play-in games that actually matter. Because I was at the Big Ten championship game. Indiana beat Ohio State, and it meant a ton for that program. But it did not. The only thing it did was flip-flop the seeding. That was it. That's the only thing that mattered.
Danny, you might as well. Next week, Danny's going to explain why. I don't even think we need parents anymore. We just need group homes, and everybody just go to a group home. And
Alabama got blown out in the SEC championship game. They were still in the playoffs? Didn't even matter. That game might as well not have been played.
That's because they've changed and perverted the system. Years ago, it would have mattered, and winning the SEC would have been the end-all, be-all, and people used to be satisfied. They generally did. They'd be, hey, man, we won the Big Ten. We had a great season. Now there's just one team that gets to have a great season, and it's.
But I think that's not. I think Arizona State, who won the Big 12 last year, made the college football playoff. I think that was a huge success for them. I think they celebrated it. SMU 1-8, got into the college football playoff, their second year in the ACC. I think that's a successful season. I still think you can celebrate making the playoffs, winning a conference championship, although I'm okay. I would be okay. I think it would mean more if you won the regular season, kind of like basketball, where you have a regular season SEC champ. Why do you need the playoffs? You can determine a champion through tiebreakers. So I do think that conference championship games are on life support. I don't think we see them past 3 or 4 years. I think they do get replaced with playing games.
Well, it's too late now. We can't get. We got a young kid over here that follows college football and football religiously. He's been rolling his eyes the entire time.
Oh my goodness!
You've been talking, Peyton. What do you think of Danny's take? Can I hear him? Should I be able to hear Peyton?
You can hear me?
No, you shouldn't. I shouldn't hear Peyton, but I think we can. Everybody can. Peyton, your take on Danny here?
I agree with the perspective and I appreciate it, but I just think one of
here.
the
Let me kiss Danny's rear end before I say what I really
exactly.
think.
He can say. You don't have to
say what you really think, Peyton. Get to the point, or don't make me regret this.
One of the examples,
don't make me regret giving you a microphone. Answer the question.
SMU didn't even win their conference championship, so that used to, like Jason said, that used to matter. So, just in my view, I just think you're overstating. I think with the 2014, you're understating the impact that it would have on the regular season and how that would just diminish. You get the entire top 25 in the playoff.
Okay, we've heard enough from Peyton. We've heard. Cut his mic. He doesn't know what hold on. Put that image back up, Danny. Did you see this? The image of my peanut gallery.
I did.
If you had to put that back up. Which one of those three do you think Peyton is? Who looks the gayest on there?
I'm gonna say Peyton's on the far right.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, no, Luke's got the dark hair, so Peyton's the guy in the middle, I guess. Anyway, that's my peanut gallery.
He can't have a legit view with his hat on backwards. That's what I'm going with. I can't take him seriously.
Guy's all buttoned up. He wears a shirt and tie to work every day. It's total misrepresentation of Peyton there. But, Danny, I'm going to move on because neither one of you, I don't know what Peyton said, and you didn't make any sense. I'm moving on. I want to move to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And Drake Maye. And did he get exposed during these playoffs? Is he overvalued?
No, I don't think so. I think what did not get enough attention was his shoulder. I think his shoulder was significantly impacting his ability to play, and it's one of the reasons I like Drake Maye. Have you heard a peep about it? Have you heard him complain about it? At Media Day, he said, I'm fine. I don't think he was fine. I thought the Patriots got exposed along the offensive line. I think there were other issues that were exposed, but I am not the least bit concerned about Drake Maye bouncing back and being another MVP candidate next season and being somebody who is a Pro Bowl type player year in and year out. He is the total package who I would not waver in my belief in his ability to be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL at all.
I think I tend to agree with you. I think people are somewhat overreacting. Some people are saying it's Patriots were scheduled, and next year they're going to drop back to 6, 7, 8 victories. They're not going to have that easy schedule. I think Drake Maye showed enough throughout the end season that I can blow off what happened in the Super Bowl and attribute a lot of it to the offensive line. And just think that experience, he's no different than Tom. Well, no different is a strong word, but it's like Tom Brady. We went back and rewatched his first couple of Super Bowls. Right. He was not the Tom Brady who we saw years later that was the best player in the league. And so we got to.
What about Ben Roethlisberger? Go watch Ben Roethlisberger's Super Bowls with the Steelers. I mean, he was a game manager. He wasn't making the type of plays that Drake Maye made all season long. I do think this postseason was a valuable learning experience for Drake Maye because he didn't play great. You know, like he did not play like he did all season, but it is a different speed. It's a different level of intensity. And I think this type of experience will be invaluable for him moving forward. But I also think like Roethlisberger and Brady, when they made their Super Bowls, they had much better talent around him. Like that's pretty much what's so special about this Patriots team. I mean, they need to get him a better wide receiver out there besides just Stephon Diggs. Will Campbell, their other rookie offensive lineman, was kind of exposed. He's also a rookie with Drake Maye, or second year with Drake Maye, same class. So, like, they're still young players. They're not just going to sit there and be content. They'll get Drake Maye better players around him. So I'm not worried about him at all. And then when I'm saying this, I did see the graphic where my favorite quarterback of all time was the youngest quarterback to make the Super Bowl was Dan Marino, and he never got back. It's really hard to make the Super Bowl, but I do think Drake Maye will get close, and I do think he'll probably be able to play in another one, but there is no guarantee. But I don't think it would be Drake Maye's fault. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the one area, and this is my area of expertise or insight, the one area where the Patriots do seem to be making a mistake, I think they've already come out and said Will Campbell is going to stay at left tackle. We're committed to that, blah, blah. The guy is not an offensive tackle. He's an offensive guard, and I think he's a very good offensive guard. We just had Richie.
He's got the alligator. You got to get longer arms, man. He's long, and it was a big point of contention. And you can try to buck the trend, but sometimes data doesn't lie. He is not a body type that works at tackle, so I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, Richie Incognito was on here yesterday and said that, hey, if they move him to guard, the guy's a Pro Bowl player. Very physical, blah, blah. And I agree with that. That's what I see. The guy's not scared. He took on the assignment of being an NFL offensive left tackle without the right body and did a serviceable job until he didn't. But what happens, people get stubborn, and they don't like to admit that they're wrong. Your reputation's someone on the line, and you drafted the guy to – maybe if you saw him as a guard, you draft him lower, and so people don't want to admit that they're wrong. Regardless, they need to admit that they're wrong. Move the kid to inside. That would be the right play. I want to flip over to the other quarterback, Sam Darnold. I want to play you this clip of Ryan Clark on ESPN saying that, I think he names 9 quarterbacks in the NFC that he believes are better than Sam Darnold. Play the clip.
How many quarterbacks, now that Sam Darnold has won a Super Bowl, would you take over Sam Darnold? I don't care about the conference. How many quarterbacks would you take?
Well, we have to care about the conference, Shay, because that's how the question was phrased.
Oh, I see.
So I don't
he doesn't have the list for the whole NFL? Got it.
So I don't have the entire NFL, so we're going.
NFC.
In the NFC, how many quarterbacks I take? I take 8. I take Stafford, Hurts, Purdy, Mayfield, Love, Goff. They all win a Super Bowl with this Seattle Seahawks team right now. I take Williams. I take Daniels. Williams and Daniels, more upside than Sam Darnold. They showed more in this league in the first 2 years of their career. All of these quarterbacks, listen, look, put the camera on me. All 8 of these quarterbacks, if the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, they win the Super Bowl, And most of these quarterbacks, if they're the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, they beat the New England Patriots worse than they won with Sam Darnold.
He says 8, but he listed 9.
He's got to have some of them on there. I mean, he's not going to leave off Jalen Hurts, or he's not going to leave off Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love. He can't leave them all. Like, they have to be above. Sam
Are you playing the card there?
No,
Danny?
no. I'm just saying. He loves those. Those are his guys. Like, those are the ones he believes in. I hate this so much because we heard that and we actually saw Dan Orlovsky. Did you see his apology to C.J. Stroud, which was a little bit over the top? It was a little bit ridiculous. I didn't think that was necessary for Dan at all. I'm sure he probably took a lot of heat on social media, which is why he felt like it. I hate this so much because I feel like it diminishes what Sam Darnold did and has done throughout his entire career and what he did this season for the Seahawks. There is no guarantee. You cannot say that emphatically that these quarterbacks would win a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. There's so much that goes into the quarterback position. I think Sam Darnold I think there's a couple things you have to overcome perception-wise in the NFL. One is if you are a Dak Prescott who was drafted in the 4th round, if you're Brock Purdy who's drafted in the 7th round, you have to overcome that perception. You almost have to win twice as much as if you were a top 5 pick. Like, that's one perception you have to overcome. The other perception you have to overcome is the perception that you were a bust, like that you were a journeyman. And that's what Sam Darnold is trying to defy. And I still think people that labeled him a bust, that wanted to get off the Sam Darnold experience and said, oh, he's never going to be a starter, they refuse to admit that they were wrong. And I don't know, but I would imagine Ryan Clark was on TV at some point saying Sam Darnold cannot win a Super Bowl. Like, what are the Vikings need to move on from him, and the Seahawks, that's a mistake that they're making, and they never want to admit that they possibly could have been wrong. I was somebody who was very skeptical of Sam Darnold, even coming into this playoffs. I did a thing with CBS where I ranked the playoff quarterbacks, and I think I had Darnold at 10. I was like, I'm still not sold. I am willing to admit I'm wrong, and I am willing to admit that Sam Darnold has silenced every critic that said anything about him. So, I think you could get into it and there'd be some nuance to it. Like, I've always been a huge Dak Prescott fan because I think over the course of his career that he's been a consistent deliverer, and he gets a lot of criticism because he wears the star on his helmet. I think that's actually a really hard debate, who you would rather have, Sam Darnold or Dak Prescott. But Darnold has done it now 2 years consistently and played some of his best football. The Super Bowl wasn't great. He didn't have to play great. But the NFC Championship game, he had the game of his life. That is something that a lot of these younger quarterbacks and potential guys haven't done yet. So maybe they're just guys that are really good and full of potential, but Darnold has actually produced. So I think you've got to give him credit for what he's done.
Here's what I would say to Ryan Clark, and I'm thinking this out loud. It's a new thought. I haven't marinated on it. But let's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, to me, probably had the same team as Sam Darnold this year. They have a very good defense in Philadelphia. They got A.J. Brown. They got Devonta Smith, another
Saquon
good wide
backfield.
receiver. Yeah, Saquon in the backfield, obviously as good or better than Kenneth Walker. And so to argue any of these guys and Jalen Hurts would have done what's it. Well, hold on. Jalen Hurts is working, in my view, with the same thing as Sam Darnold in terms of personnel. Is he saying that Nick Sirianni is that much worse of a coach than Mike McDonald, and that's the advantage that Sam Darnold had? That would be my first thought, is just I'd pump the brakes if everybody can do this. And if,
right.
Why isn't he, he should, to me, Sam Darnold should be kind of seen on the same level as Jalen Hurts.
Agreed. I think he's a better thrower of the football. I think there were at times, and now Jalen Hurts stepped up big in the Super Bowl. He stepped up, huge. 2 Super Bowls. One they lost, one they won. But I still felt like he had exceptional talent around him. I do think there's a crop of quarterbacks that you could argue about. And I think the group of players that you actually can carry a team to the Super Bowl, like, come on my back, I will take us no matter who else is around there. I think that list is really small. Probably 3 or 4. Depending on how you feel about Lamar Jackson, who hasn't been there, hasn't even done it. So I do think Sam Darnold's in that crop of guys where now he's proven I can win a Super Bowl, but you do need to put good pieces around him. And I don't think that should be a knock. I just think it's a fact of like where he is in his career. But I do think that was a huge confidence builder for him. And I think that's such a huge part of playing the quarterback position is mentally the belief and what do you think you can do. I think Sam Darnold from here on out should be looked at as a top tier quarterback in the NFL, whether that's top 10, top 5, top 6, wherever it is. I think he has to be in that conversation. And I think Jalen Hurts some years could be in there, but I don't think he's played that great this past season. And guess what? If Darnold plays next year and he doesn't play great because he didn't have his offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak's leaving, then I would say, you know what? He played his way out of it. But I think there's some quarterbacks that kind of no matter what happens, you view them that way, and others you view them as sort of, hey, it's kind of what have you done for me lately, which is kind of how the business works.
I'm going to tell you, and I hope I can unpack this quickly, but Danny, I have fallen into a habit of watching like really old school football games. YouTube is just amazing. What you can watch entire games, and they cut the commercials out and they cut a lot of the garbage out, but like games from the 1970s. And then NFL Films has these documentaries that they do on the Pittsburgh Steelers and stuff like that. And so I was just watching stuff on the Pittsburgh Steelers, initially sparked by my interest in like, was L.C. Greenwood a Hall of Fame? Let me double check my memory. But I fell into like rediscovering the narrative about Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw, the first year they won a Super Bowl, he got yanked in and out of the lineup. They started the season with Joe Gilliam as their starting quarterback. He won the job during the preseason, and Terry was the number. I think it was going into his 4th or 5th season. Terry loses his job in 1974, gets it back midway through the season, gets benched again for Terry Hanratty, and even winning that first Super Bowl, he kind of got carried, and it wasn't settled that Terry Bradshaw was going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He actually had to win a second Super Bowl. And then even going into his 3rd Super Bowl, there were still questions about Terry Bradshaw. Could he be an MVP type? And so we just need to let things play out. And the other thing that my other takeaway is like where you started in terms of this race car deal. Man, we used to be brutal on quarterbacks. White quarterbacks, brutal.
Peyton Manning. Like with John Elway.
In Pittsburgh, they showed. And again, they weren't putting this in any sort of racial context back then. They were just telling the story. They were hanging Terry Bradshaw in effigy inside the stadium, lynched around the stadium. And like, if this was a black guy, then fans were doing that. Oh, it's blah blah blah. But this is what sports fans used to do. Yeah. Ryan Clark and these guys, they need a better understanding of football history. They need a better understanding of everything. I wanted to ask you, Danny, about squeeze in a couple more things. Aaron Rodgers sounds like he might return to Pittsburgh to play with Mike McCarthy. Good idea, bad idea, stupid idea?
I think it's a good idea because if you look at the draft, it's Fernando Mendoza, massive drop-off. So, like, who are you going to go get in the college game? If you look at free agency, like, do you want to try to get Tua? Do you want to try to get Kyler Murray? A couple reclamation projects. Do you want to trade for Mac Jones, who's backing up Brock Purdy? There's just not a lot of great options out there. And I actually thought Aaron Rodgers did exactly what the Steelers wanted him to do last year. They provided a floor at quarterback, right? It didn't bottom out. I mean, he had 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So he took care of the football. I do think what they realized is this is not vintage Aaron Rodgers. He used to be a guy who could carry you to the Super Bowl. I don't care if your offensive line is bad, who you're playing with, what wide receivers, I'll put you on my back. He is not that anymore. And the offensive line got exposed against the Texans in the playoff when he looked older. But I do think if they give him better protection up front, I think he's proven hey, we can get to the playoffs and maybe we do a little bit better. We can win some playoff games, and then you kind of don't know what happens when that comes to the table. So I think it works for everybody. I do think it's a good move.
Yeah, I given the
There's
options,
nobody out there.
Yeah, it's not the Malik Willis, but who knows?
He might be on the Dolphins. They keep bringing everybody else from Green Bay down to Miami. He might be the Dolphins quarterback.
Yeah. It's a good stopgap move. You can draft a quarterback in the second round, or whatever.
Take a flyer.
Take a flyer, and who knows what McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers might cook up. It could be interesting. I actually thought initially I didn't like it, but now I do actually kind of like it. Final one here, Danny. There's a Montana linebacker who was in the same recruiting class with Micah Parsons. He's getting his 9th year of eligibility.
Yep.
And guy's gonna be around 27 years old playing college football.
Yep.
Surprisingly, Danny, I don't think I have a problem with this. I think that.
Oh my goodness!
I'm telling you, here's my thought, Danny. I'm being serious. Yep. And I know this may not be the case with this kid, but I would offer unlimited eligibility if you stay at the same school your entire career. Somebody wants to play 8-9 years.
You can be a doctor. Get your doctorate. I might have stayed in medical school. I was pre-med my first 2 years, and then realized I might want to play in the NFL, so I went to business and just got my degree to get out. He did start his career at USC. He was a pretty highly sought-after linebacker. He's had a couple, injuries that ended, seasons. We're getting to the point of ridiculousness. I don't care about the age. Like, as somebody who played baseball, and Chris Winkie went out of high school and then he played baseball and he came back, the window to play college athletics has gotten way too big. What's the difference? And tell me, you said last week, Hall of Fame voter, somebody needs to be the bad guy. Somebody needs to be the bad guy here and say, you know what? I'm sorry you tore your ACL. I'm sorry you tore it twice, whatever it is. But you know what? It's time to move on.